According to court records, just 5 minutes before he was killed, the victim called 911 and reported he was on his way to this street to help his girlfriend in a domestic dispute involving her ex. Unfortunately, that dispute ended with violence seconds before police could arrive.
The man who called the police is the man who ended up dead. The man who showed up out of love, never made it home. And the man covered in his blood. He almost drove away clean. There are stories that make you angry. There are stories that make you sad. And then there are stories like this one that make you sit back and ask God, why? Because everything about what happened to Zashawn Davis should not have gone the way it did. This man did everything right. Every single thing. And we are going to walk through every second of it together. You are watching Drifting Truth TV, domestic violence, toxic relationships, the lives taken by the very people who are supposed to love them. No fluff, no filler, just the truth. Stay with me, because this one is going to stay with you.
In serious danger, definitely call the police. That's the first thing you should do. Please try not to call your loved ones. Try not to call your friends. Try not to call anyone that's connected until you've called the police first, so that way we can prevent a homicide.
Before we get into that night, you have to understand who Zashawn Davis was. 29 years old, already doing what grown men twice his age are still only talking about. He had a real job. He owned his home. Not renting, owned it. In this economy, it takes discipline. That takes a plan. Zashawn had one and he executed it. But ask the people who knew him, and none of that was what they led with. What they led with was his children. Those kids were his whole heartbeat. Being a father was the most important thing in the world to him. And he lived that out every single day. He came up in the Arlington area, and that community claimed him as one of their own. When he was gone, they felt it, like a wound. One woman who watched him grow from a boy into the man he became, someone they call Mama Jones, said she was tired. Not the tired that sleep fixes, the bone-deep tired that comes from burying the children you poured yourself into. She said the only thing nobody could take from her were the memories. That is not a woman mourning a stranger. That is a community mother grieving a son. So picture the full man. 29, a homeowner, a provider, a father his kids adored. By every measure that actually counts, Zashawn Davis was winning. And then there was the woman he loved. She had a past, and in that past was a man named Sanders, an ex. Whatever that relationship had been, it was not fully put to rest. It was still charged enough to come knocking in the dead of night. That is the fault line under this whole story. The danger did not come from inside Zashawn's world. It came from outside it, attached to someone he loved. And when she needed somebody in her corner, there was never any question in his mind who that somebody would be. It was always going to be him. It was a Sunday, just past 4 a.m, that dead stretch when the whole city has gone quiet, and the only people awake are the ones who cannot afford to sleep. That is when his phone rang. His girlfriend was in trouble. Sanders had come back into the picture that night, and things had gone well past words. She reached out. Now here is where you really see who Zashawn Davis was made of. A lot of people, you call them at 4 a.m. with that kind of news, they roll back over. Not him. He got up and he moved. And he did not go charging into the dark blind. Before he drove anywhere, he picked up the phone and called 911. He told the dispatcher exactly where he was going and why. His girlfriend was caught in a dispute with her ex, and he was on his way to help. He did what the experts beg people to do. He looped in law enforcement before he put himself anywhere near the situation. He just could not have known that backup would be 5 minutes too slow. So the clock starts. A squad car picks up the call and rolls toward that street. At the same time, Zashawn is already in his truck, moving through the dark toward the same address. 2 sets of headlights cutting through the night. One carrying officers, one carrying a father who just needed to make sure she was okay. It was a race nobody knew they were running, and help was going to lose by seconds. He got there first. Zashawn pulled up and stayed in his vehicle. No kicking down doors, no swinging on anybody. He parked and sat there, present, so she would not be out there alone with her ex in the middle of the night. That was the whole mission. Just be there. His girlfriend later sat down with detectives and described how it unfolded. She'd been arguing with Sanders at some point inside his car, going back and forth. Then she made a decision. She got out. She turned her back on Sanders and walked toward Zashawn, toward his SUV, tiled safety, and that is the moment everything came apart. As she crossed toward Davis, Sanders got out of his car. He came up from behind her, close in the distance. She did not see it coming. She was walking away. And then the shots. Police say Sanders opened fire right there on a residential street. Just after 4 a.m, with a woman walking between them and a young father sitting in his truck. Zashawn Davis was shot in his own vehicle, the seat he drove over in to help. He never got out of that truck. Oh, so now the man who called for backup, the man who showed up out of nothing but love, he is the one who did not walk away. Make it make sense. The sirens were almost there. The help he personally called for was right around the corner. But on a street like that, in a moment like that, seconds are everything. And Zashawn Davis had run out of them. Here is where this story takes a turn you almost never see. There was no mystery, because Zashawn Davis, even in the last 5 minutes of his life, had already done the investigator's job for them. He called it in. He gave them the address before a single shot was fired. So, while a young father was taking his last breaths in that SUV, a squad car was already on that street. Officers rolled up within seconds of the gunfire stopping, and what they found was not a scene they had to piece together. What they found was a man trying to leave. Like, he actually thought he could just pull out of there and go home. Police say Quinton Sanders was attempting to drive out of the neighborhood when they caught him. Like, he could put all of it behind him in the rear view. But you cannot outrun a phone call that beat you to the scene. When they pulled him out of that vehicle, Sanders was still covered in Zashawn Davis's blood. The gun was still on him. No time to clean up, no story rehearsed, just a man, a weapon, and a dead man's blood, all in the same place, at the same time. In a world full of cold cases, this one closed before it could even fully open. And still, none of that brings...
According to court records, just 5 minutes before he was killed, the victim called 911 and reported he was on his way to this street to help his girlfriend in a domestic dispute involving her ex. Unfortunately, that dispute ended with violence seconds before police could arrive.
Zashawn home. Sanders was taken into custody right there at the scene and booked without bond. When detectives sat him down, he talked. He admitted he had been arguing with his ex that night, put himself right in the middle of it with his own mouth. And then came the line that stopped me completely. Blood that was not his still on his clothes, He looked at those detectives and said, "I'm not a bad person. I'm not no monster or anything."
Homicide.
But you can't ever bring back that life, and that's why we want to urge and remind the community, please do not try to solve these types of conflicts on your own. Anytime a firearm could be present, and it's not worth losing your life over.
According to this affidavit, Sanders admitted he had been arguing with his ex and told detectives, "I'm not a bad person, I'm not no monster or anything."
Girl, a 29-year-old father, is dead. The murder weapon is right there. And the words out of this man's mouth are about how he wants to be perceived. Not one word about the man in that truck. Not one word about the children who no longer have their father. Just his own reputation. Then he asked for an attorney, and the talking was done. Moving on. Because the courtroom is not where this story lives. What matters long after the gavel comes down lives somewhere else entirely. It lives in what got left behind. Zashawn Davis built a life most people spend their whole lives talking about building. The home, the career, the children who looked up at him like he hung the moon. All of it still standing, and the man who built every piece of it, gone in minutes on a quiet street while the city slept. That is the part that does not leave you. The advocates who do this work every day put it plainly. Danielle Smith with Indie Champions said it in a way that needs to be heard. Domestic violence can have an impact on everyone. She said when someone you love is in danger, every instinct tells you to call them, call family, call friends. But that instinct, as loving as it is, can turn a dangerous moment into a deadly one. If you are in serious danger, definitely call the police. That's the first thing you should do. Please try not to call your loved ones. Try not to call your friends. Try not to call anyone that's connected until you've called the police first. So that way, we can prevent a homicide. And another advocate said the part that cuts the deepest. But you can't ever bring back that life. And that's why we want to urge and remind the community, please do not try to solve these types of conflicts on your own. Anytime there could be a firearm present, and it's not worth losing your life over. Here is the painful truth underneath all of it. Zashawn Davis did call the police. He did the exact thing those advocates are urging people to do. He gave them everything they needed to get there in time, and it still was not enough. I do not think there is a lesson here that wraps this up neatly. Some losses just do not have a tidy morale. But maybe the point is this: when someone you love is in danger, the call you make matters. Because the alternative, driving into the dark alone, with no backup and no plan, that alternative took Zashawn Davis away from his children. He was 29 years old. He had a home he worked for, kids who needed him, a community that was proud of him, and he spent the last 5 minutes of his life trying to protect someone else. But hey, if his story reaches one person tonight and makes them pick up the phone instead of getting in that car, then Zashawn Davis is still showing up for people, still doing what he always did, even now, even from where he is. Rest easy, Zashawn. You are loved, you are missed, and you will not be forgotten. If this story hit you, do not sit with it alone. Share it. Leave a comment below. And if you or someone you love is caught in something like this right now, call for help. Let the right people step in. You have been watching Drifting Truth TV, where every story matters, where no one gets forgotten. We will see you in the next one.